In this video we will look at ranged attacks in Bushido Risen Sun. In the previous videos we have covered basic rules and movement. If you haven't watched those videos, it would be a good idea to do so before this video, especially the video on basic rules. Please note that this is a simplified explanation of the ranged attack action. To get a more in-depth explanation, refer to the rulebook pages on screen. A model must have a ranged weapon to make a ranged attack. A ranged attack is a challenge test, and the usual rules apply. Usage of instant and active key feats is restricted during ranged attacks to certain points. The target must be within line of sight and range of the attacking model. As discussed previously, line of sight is determined by the facing of the model and extends 90 degrees to each side of the facing of a model. Intervening terrain and models can get in the way of line of sight. Here we see an example of line of sight. Model A has clear line of sight to Model B and the large Model G. Model A has no line of sight to Model C, as Model C is behind Model G, a model defined as larger than Model C. Model A has line of sight to Model D, but since the line of sight passes through obscuring terrain, in this case some bushes, Model D would be considered in cover. Model A would normally have its line of sight to Model E completely blocked by the wall, but the wall is defined as tiny, so it does not block line of sight to small base Model E, but does provide it with cover as Model E is within 1 inch of the wall. Model A cannot draw line of sight to Model F, as Model F is behind a rock, which is defined as large. Model H is outside Model A's viewing arc, so Model A would have to pivot to see Model H, which would mean it counts as moving for the shot. Here we can see a ranged weapon on a profile card. Briefly, this is the symbol that designates this weapon as a ranged weapon. This is the modifier this weapon applies to damage rolls. On the other side of the box is the traits associated with the weapon. This is the range bands of the weapon. These determine the ranges of the weapon, starting from the model itself. The leftmost number is the short range, the middle is the medium range, and the third is the long range. Once you have declared the ranged attack, determine the challenge number for the test by measuring the range between the attacking model and the target. If, after measuring, the target is beyond the long range of the weapon, the attack automatically fails and is considered resolved. Here, Minoru, an Ashigaru of the Prefecture of Ryu, is attacking Ito Itsunagi of the Ito clan with his arquebus. Measuring the range, we can determine that Itsunagi is within short range. This gives a base challenge number of 4, which is a relatively easy challenge number. However, there are a few modifiers to the challenge number that will be relevant. Itsunagi earlier in the turn ran, which when we look at the summary table here, means that we must add +1 to that base challenge number. Not on the table but still relevant is that Itsunagi has the trait Range Defense 2, which adds +2 to the challenge number of ranged attacks aimed at him. This gives us a total all-in of 7, which is a much harder challenge number. Now we calculate the ranged attack pool of Minoru. On his card, his ranged attack statistic is 3. This number is how much key it would cost for him to boost his range statistic by 1. Minoru does not this turn have enough to boost, and so his ranged attack dice pool is 3. Minoru's player now rolls the dice for his attack and gets a 6, a 3, and a 2. An excellent roll. Taking the highest result of 6, we add the 2 other dice as supporting dice to give us +1 per dice. 6 + 1 + 1 equals 8. When compared to the challenge number required of 7, we see it as a successful hit. The difference between the final result and the challenge number is 1, so therefore the success level is 1. We now move on to the damage roll. The attacking player now rolls 2d6 to determine what row on the damage table it goes to. The dice result is a 3 and a 4. Minoru's arquebus we see here has a damage modifier of a whopping +4. So adding this modifier to the damage roll, 3 + 4 + 4 equals 11, which we use to cross-reference to success level 1 on the damage table, giving us a result of 3 wounds caused. Minoru now collects 2 reload tokens as per the traits on his arquebus, and the ranged attack action is considered resolved. In this video, we have touched on how ranged attacks work in Bushido. The rulebook covers this action in much greater detail at the following rulebook page references. Elements of the ranged attack actions not covered by this video include attacking a surprise model and targeting a model in base-to-base with a friendly model. In the next video, we will cover the melee attack action in Bushido Risen Sun.